So I found the best set of carbs that I've got for the CB404. These are quite nice. I've just cleaned up the carburettor slides, so they're free now. Just took the caps off and gave it a good bit of WD-40 down there and freed those off. Also freed the choke off, so that's working. But these carbs have been sat for quite a long time, so I'll strip the float bowls off and clean out the main jets and make sure the needles and seats are seating properly and the floats are all working properly. So let's just strip the floats off. Most people are scared of stripping carbs on an old bike like this, but they're relatively straightforward if you're just careful and keep everything in order. Then it's fairly straightforward. So this one's got a little bit of sludge in the bottom there. Clean that out with some carb cleaner. I'm hoping everything's going to be good in here, because this is the best set of carbs I've got out of the two. So I'm going to try and rebuild it without using a rebuild kit. I find some of the rebuild kits are sort of cheap, poor quality parts now, and it's sometimes best to just try and reuse the original items if possible. A bit of milky residue in there. It's probably had a bit of water in it. Don't look too bad other than that though. It's a bit one that's awkward. I haven't got a great deal of tools at home, so I have to try and make do with what I've got. That's good. Put a new screw in there. So on these carbs, I think it's the same on the CB550s, the jets are retained with these little plates. I've seen these be completely rotted away before, and they're actually quite hard to get hold of now. They seem to be out of stock everywhere. So it's good that they're all in good condition. And the main jets are just pushed in. The little O-ring around them. The O-rings look a little flat, but I think they'll survive. I've actually seen these before where people have just used standard O-rings on them, and they split the carb housing when they knock them in and ruin a perfectly good set of carburettors. So don't be tempted to use the wrong size O-rings on these, because they do break. So the main jet's out. Hopefully the floats floats will come out easily. Yeah, nice and free. So there's a float. There's a plastic float. I don't know if they're solid, but they generally don't cause much trouble. The only thing you can get is that if someone's set the float height badly, they can sort of bend that tab there to adjust the float height. Because we're reusing the needles and seats that are in it, I shouldn't need to touch the float height, so I'll just leave that well alone to start with. I may check them, but I'll leave that sort of as they are. There's no point in making extra work. So then the needle is that piece. So look and make sure that it's not too worn. There's actually a bit of wear on that, but we'll see if it works. I tried to keep the needles with the seat that they've come out of. Drop that one. It's straightforward to change the needle and seat on these. To get the seats out, you just undo that screw and the seat will pull out. I'm not going to bother with this because I'm just going to give it a bit of a quick clean and back together, because in honesty these carbs all look pretty good. So I'll strip that up using some brake and clutch cleaner. It's the same stuff as carb cleaner, it's just what I've got to hand. So just give that a squirt out, get rid of that water that was in there. Dog's trying to eat easy start, hot brake cleaner. There's a little bit of dirt in there. Scrape that out. These carbs are actually in really good condition compared with a lot of them that I've seen. Quite happy with these. Everything seems tiny on these bikes. So just have a look down in the needle seat and make sure it's nice and clean, no debris down there. They all look clean. So I think I'll go with popping the needle straight back in. Just give it a little bit of a clean. I might have even got away without stripping these carbs, they're looking that good a condition, but they can be quite awkward to get in position, so it's worth just having a look while they were off. My eyesight's failing me a little bit.
Showing your age.
That's all the needles back in. That's the floor, I'll just give it a little clean. The only problem I love brake and clutch cleaner, it's great at cleaning stuff, but when the weather's cold like it is today, it's horrible to get on your fingers. Use your fingers, I'll squirt some on there. It evaporates off your hands and cools them. So what I could do now is, well, in fact it might work this way up. If we just blow down the fuel pipe, and so when I lift the float, the fuel could get through, and when the float comes down, it shuts the fuel off. So the way you'd set the float heights is you could just tape the other floats up, and you blow down the fuel pipe and press the float up until the fuel shuts off, and this is probably about level with the square bottom of the float there. That's where the fuel should shut off. Like I say, unless you've changed the needle and seats and no one's been messing around with them, they should be set right. So the main jets, we just have a bit of a look through them to the light. That actually looks like it could be a little bit blocked up. So a jet cleaner is useful, but a little bit of a wire brush or copper wire or anything that you can just sort of poke through the hole and give it a little clean out. The brass goes sort of like furry and closes the hole up if they've been left for a while. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but you can see through that jet now. So a little bit of a squirt with some induction cleaner. More a poke. I don't know what the dog's up to. Digging his way out, I think. Nice and clear. Can't see anything through there. And you can see that on the camera, but that looks totally blocked up. Try and get a couple of strands of wire brush down there. They do some actual Carburettor nozzle cleaners, but I just haven't got any to hand. I've had it recently where the cheap jets that they sell on eBay are absolutely rubbish. The sizing's just made up, and you just get a load of running issues. So I generally like to use the original parts where possible. Seems that quality is not a big driving force in manufacturing anymore. Right, you can see through that now. That was block 2. So it's a good job to strip these. I would have been putting them on only to take them back off again after flattening the battery and everything else. Right, so to put the jets in, you slide them. How do we do this? That slides across there and just pushes down. There's a nice little click on it in position. So it's always best to be careful and gentle with this stuff. If it's not going together easily, stop, because it's really easy to break bits, and these are getting harder to find spares for, so you don't really want to be breaking anything. I might just clean out those pilot jets as well, because the main jets were all pretty clogged. Just get 2 miles out first. Yeah, that's clogged. So I think these are the pilot running jets, so this is what helps it tick over. And then once you open the throttle, the needle lifts out of the emulsion tube, and its running's due to the main jet. So it's really important these are clean, and these kind of end up blocking up because when they're left with fuel in the carburettors, the fuel evaporates and leaves residue behind. And then it clogs the jets, sticks the needles in the floats, and they don't run properly. When you're screwing these back in, just be careful not to over tighten them. Just a little nip down, that's as much as they need. Just putting the jet retainers back in. Let's give these a quick squirt out. There's some more nastiness. So the O-ring is still in there, It's a little bit hard maybe, but I think it'll be okay. So then make sure your jet returner is in the correct place. I'll put the float ball straight down. I need to nick a new screw for this one. Steal the screw out of an old carburettor. Make it easier for when the inevitable needs to come a bit the next time. They're doing stuff like this because I haven't used new parts and things. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up having to take the carbs off if it gets a fuel leak or something like that. I think the best way is just to get on with it, test it, and if you're to take them back off, you're to take them back off. There's no point in being too pedantic and over the top. It doesn't seem to matter how much care and attention you take, sometimes they just don't seal. Now the other thing that I've got to do on this is I've got some new gaskets for the slide caps. So they didn't look in best shape, so it's worthwhile sticking those in when I've got the carbs off. Yeah, they're really old and brittle. It's just very old and brittle. Probably, and the newest this bike can be is 43 years old. No, 44 years old. Stop. Yeah, that's the right gasket. Line that up. So this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I've lubricated the slides up, taken these caps off and cleaned them out and given them a good squirt with WD-40. This is just stuck over time. So just squirt the slides in there. You can see when you work the throttle, that's pulled the slides up. That's all them gaskets changed, throttle still works, it's good. So I'm going to fit these, see how it runs, but because it's got 4 separate carburettors, these can actually be out of balance, which means that some of the slides might be opening before other slides. And so I want to get the bike up and running and and gone through, I'll probably synchronise the carburettors. So you have little vacuum ports on the inlets and connect those to vacuum gauges, and then can adjust the, how do we adjust it? We adjust the carb openings. I think those are caps, and behind that cap there's the adjustment screw. So I'll get the carbs all balanced up. It makes quite a big difference to how the bike runs. They run much smoother, and the throttle response is much crisper if the carbs are properly balanced. So we'll get it all up and running. Hopefully there'll be no leaks, and we'll balance the carbs. Fingers crossed it'll be running this weekend.